Hi, this time I thought I would talk about something a little bit more bling, a little bit more special. And the drum itself is made by Adrian, who is probably most well known for creating the metal shell drums for Johnny Craviotto over the last 4 or 5 years, and also the Ludwig Centennial drum, the big gold drum, which they made a couple of years ago to celebrate Ludwig's 100 years in business. This drum is also a gold drum. It's a slightly different size to the Ludwig drum in that it's a 14 by 5.5, but it is all the same gold, and it's 24 karat gold plated everything except for the snare wires, and this is it. This it's good, as you can see. It's got my name on the front of it in the panel. The only real reason that I did that was because I couldn't think of anything better to put in there. In all honesty, it's a 14 by 5.5. It's got 8 lugs. It's a brass shell. And as I said, it's basically 24 karat gold plated everything. So all of the hardware and the shell is all gold plated. In addition, it's all been hand engraved as well. So the hoops and the shell were hand engraved by Adrian. And actually, I will show you in a second where the design came from for the engraving. But really, I commissioned the drum in 2008. I actually had to look that up because I couldn't remember when it was. But so it's about 5 years old, or fractionally just under at the time of doing this. But it's as I said, it was 5 years old. I spoke to Adrian. I approached him actually originally just to get some costings and some ideas of time frames and things, and it was mainly due to the cost and what I wanted doing with it more than anything else. And we had some emails toing and froing, and then I think I had some queries on it, and I'd mentioned it to a very good friend of mine who is Italian, and that's you, Stefano, by the way. And Stefano very kindly called Italy and spoke to Adrian, because I speak absolutely no Italian whatsoever, and I think whilst Adrian does actually speak English, Stefano called him and spoke to him in Italian anyway. Cleared up a few things for me, and that was really when the process started of when the drum was being made. As I said, I'll do some photos as well, close-up photos of the shell, so you can get a better idea if you've never seen it, of the kind of engraving that is on the actual shell. It is amazing, and I think it was all done by hand as well, which makes it even more amazing to me. But anyway, I suppose some quick features of the actual drum, and then I'll show you where the design for the engraving came from. You've got one of Adrian's strainers on here. The drum itself is basically a reproduction of a 1920s type drum, and again, actually, in fact, this drum here is also from these two drums are both from the 1920s. I will actually get this one down a bit later on, just to maybe do a couple of sound files and A/B them, see what you think of the two sounds. But these are both actually leady drums. They're both brass shells. This one's an 8 lug and this one's a 6 lug. But this drum is designed to feel just like a drum from the 1920s, and whilst I haven't actually played it that much, to be perfectly honest, it costs a lot of money, but for the most part it's been on display in my front room and my previous house as well, on a display stand in the front room, simply because it doesn't work for everything, obviously. as hopefully you'll hear a bit later on from the sound file. But anyway, coming back to the hardware, obviously you can see there's tube lugs here. You've got the strainer, which is a very basic one. That's really all it does. The tension rod there, the tension for the snares there. The clips on the hoop on both ends. It's basically a single flanged hoop. It's dead straight there. The only flange is there where it sits on top of the hoop for the head. It came with Remo heads, which is fine because that's mainly what I use anyway. We've got pure sound wires, and it's actually held on, as you probably saw before, with cord rather than anything else, which I don't think, to be honest, you'd ever think about putting plastic ties or anything else to hold the snares on this sort of thing. It wouldn't be right. So. But I suppose, yeah, that's it really for the specs of the drum. The design for the drum, it's actually a Gold Triumphal, which I think Adrian said at the time he had done, I think it was 13 or 14 before this one, so that was 5 years ago. He may have done a few more since then, but by the sounds of it, they're not the most popular drums that he makes because of, I imagine, the sourcing of the materials and the cost. But it is a most splendid drum. It really is. It does exactly what it's supposed to in terms of sounding and looking and feeling like a drum from the 1920s. But if you've never seen this book before, it's Vintage Snare Drums, the Kyoto Collection. This is an amazing book, and I got this as soon as it came out a good few years ago now. If anyone ever watching this, some of my friends watch this and think that I'm crazy. I think he's got 500 or 600 snare drums, so I'm perfectly normal, just like everyone else. Mike, I think at the time of doing this, he had 5 of the known 7 Ludwig original Triumphals from the 1920s. I think he subsequently sold one to Bunny Carlos, if what I recall is correct. Just finding the page. The engraving was actually based upon this drum, actually, which is this is page 14 and 15. But this is the drum that I asked Adrian to base the engraving on my own drum, and I did that because I think, well, to look at this drum, this is it's 5 figures in value. It looks every bit as classy as I think it probably did the day it came out of the factory. I love the engraving on it, and it basically, the engraving on my drum is a slightly more modern take or reproduction of the engraving in this particular on this particular drum. So that's it. What I'll take some better photos. I'll do a sound file, and I'll also do a sound file of this drum as well, and maybe see what the two sound like. Okay, now I'm going to do the sound file. What I actually forgot to say was this drum is actually, as far as I'm aware, anyway, still featured on Adrian Kirsch's website. I think it was a close-up of the engraving on there as well. It's akdrums.it. I think I'll put a link in the bit at the bottom anyway. Okay, and what I'll do now is I will just do a quick sound file of this leady. I'll probably do another separate thing on this particular drum anyway at some point. But it's a brass shell. It's got single flanged hoops again, but they're bigger than the other than the AK. And I've actually just realised that they've got different wires on them. I think these are possibly pearl, something that they did a while ago. If they don't do them now, I'm not quite sure. I really can't remember. And they obviously need reseating as well, which I can't be bothered to do at the moment. Anyway, I'll give it a go. I've always had a bit of a problem getting anything other than a really dry, sort of flat sound out of this particular drum. But I'll give you an idea. It is from the 1920s anyway, and I said it's I can't actually remember what the model number was. It's a lady of some sort though anyway. So. As I said, needs a bit of work on it. See you later.